Please go ahead.
Thank you very much po, Mr. President, and good morning po. Sa kasalukuyan po ay ang severe tropical storm Enteng ay nasa 300 kilometers west-northwest ng Lawag City, Ilocos Sur. Ito po ay may taglay na lakas ng hangin malapit sa gitna, 100 kilometers per hour. And then may pagbugso ito na umaabot ng 125 kilometers per hour at kumikilos west-northwest sa mabagal na pagkilos po. Kanina pong alas 4 ng madaling araw ay lumabas na po ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Subalit kung mapapansin po natin dito sa satellite images na ito, ay ito pong malaking lugar sa ating, particularly sa Luzon, ay mayroong natatabunan pa ng red shadings. Ibig sabihin po ito ay may mga malalakas sa pag-ulang dala-dala. At kaugnay po nito ay nagpalabas na tayo ng ating forecast track. Kung mapapansin po natin, by 2 p.m. Sorry. Apologies po. Nabago po yata yung nakashare na screen. Currently po, I'm sharing my screen. Sorry.
What we have is the participants in the Zoom meeting. What we need is the update. Nasa iyo na. Okay.
My sincere apologies po.
That's okay. Just keep going.
Okay po. So ito na po yung current na forecast track ng bagyong severe tropical storm Enteng. By 2 p.m. today, ito po ay kumikilos po westward. So medyo lalayo pa po ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. And then by 2 p.m. Tomorrow, nasa West Philippine Sea pa rin po ito. And then eventually by 2 a.m. September 7, roughly nandun po ito sa southern part or portion ng China, and then eventually going towards sa northern portion ng Vietnam. Okay. And kaugnay po nito ay meron tayong nirelease na weather advisory number 8. Ito po ay kaugnay dun sa pinag-ibayong habagat po. So today, inaasahan po natin na ang severe tropical storm Enteng ay magdadala ng heavy to intense rains. About 100 to 200 millimeters over areas in Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, and Occidental Mindoro, while moderate to heavy rains, about 50 to 100 millimeters of rain sa northern Palawan, including Calamian, Cuyo, and Cagayan-Silio Islands. Kasama po tayo dito sa Metro Manila, sa Cavite, Batangas, Rizal, Laguna, Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, La Union, and Benguet. And then by tomorrow, may heavy to intense rains pa rin, about 100 to 200 millimeters sa Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, Occidental Mindoro, while moderate to heavy rains ang inaasahan naman natin sa northern Palawan, including Calamian, Cuyo, Cagayan-Silio Islands. Kasama po tayo sa Metro Manila, Cavite, Batangas, Rizal, Laguna, Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac, and Nueva Ecija. And then by Friday, roughly mag-i-improve po ng konti ang ating weather conditions. Moderate to heavy rains na lang ang inaasahan natin sa Occidental Mindoro, Zambales, and Bataan. Okay. And ito po yung forecast track natin, animated forecast track natin. Kasama po yung ulan na dala-dala nitong severe tropical storm Enteng habang ito ay kumikilos papalayo ng ating bansa. And kaugnay po nung na-observe natin na track po nitong tropical storm Enteng, ito po yung by September 1, nung September 1 po, 11 a.m., ito po ay namuo nga bilang isang tropical depression at pinangalanan natin si Enteng. So ganito po yung kanyang naging pagkilos. September 2, Monday, nung 11 a.m., ito po ay nasa malapit sa Polillo Islands. And then later that night, ito po ay naglandfall sa Aurora, located or near proceeded to Isabela area. And then, ito po, September 3 ay nasa West Philippine Sea na. Ayan po. And then, yung mga naging pag-ulan po na dala-dala nitong si Enteng noong August 31, inulan po ang maraming lugar sa Eastern Visayas, ganun din sa Central Visayas, some areas there, and then some portions of Bicol region. And then, nung September 1 po, ito po yung may mga pula tayo makita. Nakita po natin, nagkaroon ng malakas sa pag-ulan sa gawing Bicol region. Ganun din po, some areas pa rin sa northern Samar. Yun po yung may mga orange areas na shaded regions. Ganun din po, may mga ilang lugar na nakaranas na rin ng about itong yellow shaded regions, about 60 to 100 millimeters of rain sa eastern section po ng Luzon. And then, nung September 2, ito na po sa malaking bahagi naman po ng Luzon, sa Central Luzon, and even Dagupan area, Ilocos, ay may mga pag-ulan din pong naranasan. Ganon din po sa some areas in Quezon Province. And then, September 3, ito na po sa western section, more of Region 1 and also some areas in Zambales have experienced significant amount of rainfall. And kaugnay po nito ay ito po yung status ng ating mga minamonitored na dams. Actually, currently po, ang areas of concern natin ay itong Ipo Dam. Meron siyang nakabukas na isang gate. Ang level niya, currently about 0.7 meters po yung nakabukas nito. One gate siya, as of 8 a.m. ngayon ay 100.59 kasi ang kanyang water level. And then sa La Mesa Dam po, currently ay nasa at 8 a.m. ito po ay 80.2 ang kanyang elevation. So meron po siyang, nag-overflow po siya currently, ito pong ating La Mesa Dam. Okay. And kaugnay po nito ay meron po tayong mga pinalabas na general flood advisories. Kasama po dito yung mga ilang lugar sa Cagayan Valley, sa Region 2, and then some areas in Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 1, Region 3, 4A, 4B, and then some flood bulletin also were issued, in particular sa Pampanga River Basin, 5:30 a.m. po ngayong umaga ay pinalabas po natin ito. And then flood bulletin din po sa Pasig, Marikina, Laguna, Dibay. Nag-issue po tayo dito ng flood bulletin 7 a.m. Ganon din po sa bahagi ng Tulyahan River sapagkat downstream po ng La Mesa Dam. Kapag ka nag-overflow ito ay doon dadalo yung tubig. So 7 a.m. po today meron din po tayong flood bulletin na initial dito. And then flood bulletin number 1 naman po sa Agno River Basin. Kaninang alas 5 po pinalabas po natin ito. And then flood advisory sa Cagayan River Basin, 12 noon kahapon pa po ito. Ayun po. And then may mga hydrological situationer po tayo na pinalabas din. Particularly sa Angat River, ganun din po sa ito pong sa La Mesa. And yun po, ito po pinapakita naman natin yung inaasahan natin in the next 2 weeks. Given po na ito pong kulay red shaded na area dito ay ito po si Enteng. And then may inaasahan tayo within this week pa rin. May possible na buong tropical cyclone or tropical cyclone-like vortex dito. And then may isa pang kasunod dito sa labas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility within this period. So, ito po, kung sakali ay maaaring maging si Ferdy, itong nandito, kasi maaari po siyang mabuo malapit dito sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, sa northeastern boundary niya. And then itong isa naman, kung sakaling matuloy siya, by next week, ay siya po ay tatawaging si Henner. And then, for the month of September, may 2 hanggang 3 pa rin po talaga tayong inaasahang bagyo. And then October, 2 hanggang 3, and then November 1 hanggang 2, and then by December may 1 hanggang 2 inaasahan pa po tayong bagyo. Currently po ay naka-La Nina alert pa rin po tayo. So hindi pa rin po actually La Nina, nandun pa rin tayo sa neutral condition, pero inaasahan pa rin natin na yun po part rin po ng ating pag-prepare ay yung possibility na magkaroon ng La Nina later of this year. So, yun lang po, mahal na Pangulo. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. All right. Can we have a closer view of the track of Enteng para ma-identify natin kung saan talaga dumaan? And those will be the areas that will be especially most affected. We can use the track that you showed kanina. I-zoom lang natin ng konti dun sa, yan. I-zoom lang natin dun sa Northern Luzon ng konti. Just to see where exactly the track. So, it made landfall, Enteng made landfall in Aurora.
Yes po, tama po.
And
Mahal
it
na Pangulo.
exited it exited the landmass where? Sa amin.
Opo, sa Ilocos.
Sa Lawag.
po. Labag po. Opo.
All right. At which point, what was the wind velocity and what was the rainfall?
At that time po, tropical storm ang kanyang category. So, and then yung rainfall po, I'm sorry po. Ito po yung mga pag-ulan na naranasan. So, nagsimula po actually
Yeah.
mga pag-ulan dito sa Eastern Visayas
Yeah.
and then some portions of Central Visayas.
These are the areas that we're going to have to respond to.
And then afterwards, some areas in Bicol region po, and then areas in Aurora and some areas ng eastern section po ng ng Luzon. Ganon din po actually sa Quezon province, mahal na Pangulo.
All right. Okay. Can we now go to the dams, the status of the dams? Because if you remember, there was a problem some time back when the dams opened and it flooded the downstream areas without the benefit of any warning, of any evacuation. So, what do these figures exactly mean? How far are we from overflowing these dams? Nakita ko Ipo has already released some, has already opened the gate and has released some of the water. What is the status of the other dams, and are we imminently? Will we have to release also water from those other dams so that mawarningan natin yung mga downstream na communities na meron tayong may gagawin na ganyan?
Tama po kayo, mahal na Pangulo. Ang currently po ang Ipo Dam ay may isang gate na nakabukas, and downstream po nito ay ito pong lugar ng Bustos, Pulilan, Baliwag, Plaridel, Port Kalumpit, Paumbong, and Hagonoy, Bulacan. And then ito naman pong Lamesa Dam ay tama po kayo, nag-overflow po ito currently kasi 80.15 po ang kanyang normal high water level. So kapag umabot siya dun sa kanyang level na yun, actually na-exceed niya, mag-overflow lang po siya. And then kanina po nabanggit ko po yung
This is just, you're talking about Ipo Dam.
And then yes po.
Paliwanag mo yung third column. I don't know, what does that mean? I can see reservoir level in the second column. Okay. But we have no idea whether that is a dangerous level or it is what. But I think that the deviation column is more important when it comes to that.
The deviation column po, mahal na Pangulo, ay kung ano lang po yung pagbabago niya in the past 24 hours.
In the past 24 hours. Okay, so how far are which is the figure? What is the data that we need to look at to see how full the dams and yung kailangan bantayan kasi baka kailangan na nga natin magbukas ng gate.
Opo. So yung fourth column po, ito po yung normal high water level. So dito po natin kino-compare yung current situation or yung water level niya ngayon.
Okay.
So ang isa po nating tinitingnan is ito pong currently naka-flood precaution po tayo dito sa Magat Dam. Dahil medyo malapit po ang kanyang level doon sa kanyang normal high water level. Although nagkaroon siya ng pagbaba in the past 24 hours, but given that meron po tayong mga pag-uulan dulot ng habagat, then naka-flood
But
precaution
Magat
po
is
tayo.
at a minus level, at a minus figure.
Tama po
So,
kayo,
bumaba.
mahal na Pangulo. Bumaba po siya ng 0.14, but hindi po natin naalis yung possibility na yung areas po collecting or encompassing yung watershed ay maaari pong makapag-contribute in the next 24 hours. So that's why naka-flood precaution po tayo. And downstream po ng Magat ay ito po mga lugar ng Ramon, San Mateo, Alfonso, Kabatuan, Luna, Kabatuan, Luna, and yung mga ilang lugar pa po sa Aurora, even Burgos.
Alright. Okay, so yun ang at this point, ang babantayan natin. Although Enteng still dropping rainfall, this is another aspect of the flood control that we have to deal with. We might have to deal with. Kung patuloy pa rin ang pag-ulan na mabigat, kailangan mapilitan tayo na magbitaw ng tubig. So let's watch that closely. We'll keep up to date on that. All right. Thank you. Now we move on to the briefing that OCD is going to give us on the situation. Please.
Good morning, Mr. President. I'm Director Idio of the Office of Civil Defense, and I'll be presenting the effects of tropical cyclone Enteng and southwest monsoon. And my report is as of September 4, 10 a.m. So the sequence of my presentation will be shown. Next slide, please. On the effects, there are 442,804 families affected, or equivalent to 1.7 million persons. Displaced population are 21,681 families, or 88,077 persons staying inside evacuation centers, while 6,348 families, or 18,757 persons, are served outside evacuation centers in regions 1, 2, CAR, 3, NCR, Calabarzon, 5, 6, 7, and 8. On related incidents, there are 121 cities or municipalities affected by flooding in regions 1, 3, NCR, Calabarzon, 5, and 8, of which 50 remains flooded, 59 have subsided, and 12 have receded. There are 14 incidents of landslides in regions 1, 3, Calabarzon, 5, 7, and 8, 3 in region 1, 1 in North Saragay, Bulacan, 1 in Ternate, Cavite, 2 in region 5, 1 in region 7, and 6 in region 8. On casualties, there are 15 dead, 15 injured, and 21 missing reported, but these are still subject for validation, Mr. President. The details are as indicated on the screen. On suspension of work and classes, 456 work suspensions and 659 class suspensions were given by LGUs in regions NCR 1, 2, CAR, 3, Calabarzon, 5, and 6. On the effects, especially damage and losses to agriculture, the Department of Agriculture has reported a total of 351 million pesos worth of damage and losses to agriculture, affecting 13,623 farmers, with volume of production loss at 14,814 metric tons and 8,893 hectares of agricultural areas of rice, corn, and high value crops. And these values are still subject for validation, Mr. President. On the status of lifelines, 39 out of 79 road sections are not passable in regions 1, 2, CAR, 3, Calabarzon, and 5. 16 out of 19 bridges are not yet passable in regions 1, 2, 3, and 5. 68% power has restored. This is 19 out of 28 affected LGUs in regions 3, Calabarzon, and 5. 67% water supply has been affected, or 2 out of 3 affected LGUs in Calabarzon and Region 5. There are 4 seaports reported out of 17 seaports that suspended trips in Regions 1, Calabarzon, and 5, of which there are 455 passengers, 34 rolling cargos, 13 vessels, and 4 motor bangkas currently stranded in Calabarzon and Region 6. On airport, there's no report as of this time as far as non-operations of airport, but there are 24 reported canceled flights, especially in Regions 2, 5, and NCR. 100% communication line has been restored. And on damaged infrastructures, there are 3 reported in Region 5. About 200,000 pesos is the estimated damage to infrastructure in Region 5. 589 were reported damaged houses, of which 538 are partially damaged and 51 are totally damaged. On declaration of state of calamity, 2 cities and municipalities have declared state of calamity, especially in Naga City and Allen, Northern Samar. On flooded areas, next slide. So there are still 50 flooded areas remaining. These are in Region 1, there is still 3 flooded areas reported. In Region 3, there is still 13 remaining flooded areas. Calabarzon is still 1 remaining flooded area. Region 4 has 4 remaining flooded area, especially in Camarines Sur, and 29 areas in Region 8 remains flooded, as shown. Next slide. Of the affected population nationwide, Mr. President, out of the 421,227 affected families, most affected regions are as follows. Region 5 with 267,073 affected families, followed by Region 3, and then Region 8, and fourth is NCR. And the rest, the other regions have suffered less effects of the typhoon and southwest monsoon, Mr. President. On the interventions, next slide, the Ndrrmc has issued the following memoranda. The raising of alert status of the operation center to red for tropical depression Enteng and southwest monsoon. The declaration of emergency preparedness and response protocols for Typhoon Enteng or tropical depression Enteng and southwest monsoon, and then activation of Ndrrmc response cluster effective 1 September 2024. We have conducted weather updating. We have conducted pre-disaster risk assessment on September 1, and then followed by the activation of virtual emergency operation center. We have meetings conducted on September 2 regarding class and work suspensions, with recommendations submitted to the Office of the President through the Office of the Executive Secretary. We assisted 36 rescue calls, of which 32 are from Calabarzon, 3 from Region 3, and 1 from NCR. And then we have issued 37 early alert and warning messages, and NCR 3, Calabarzon 5, 7, and 8. And we are on continuous coordination with regional offices and Ndrrmc member agencies. On the Ndrrmc response cluster essential elements of information, these are the supports or assistance provided by the different response clusters. On food and non-food items, cost of food and non-food items assistance provided equivalent to 33.1 million pesos. Family food packs provided totals to 12,481 to regions 5 and 8. On camp coordination and camp management and internally displaced persons, there are 16,966 families or 69,815 persons served inside evacuation centers, and 5,329 families or 17,147 persons were served outside evacuation center. On health cluster, the health cluster has about 1.45 million pesos worth of health commodities were augmented to Albay, Quirino, and Cagayan, and prepositioned logistics equivalent to 480.6 million pesos worth of preposition logistics in CHGs 2, 4A, 7, 8, and BARM. And that DOH reported earlier that it has already distributed 400,000 doxycycline tablets as prophylaxis against leptospirosis. On logistics cluster, there are 4 land assets deployed from DPWH and OCD to deliver cargo, especially food and non-food items and hygiene kits, to Baguio City and Antipolo City. 16 personnel from GTF NCR were provided, has provided hauling assistance in loading sites in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City. On education cluster, there are 9 schools used as evacuation centers in region Calabarzon. On emergency telecommunications cluster, 467 assets are placed on standby from DICT and OCD. On law and order cluster, there are 1,120 personnel and 344 resources deployed in regions 2, Calabarzon, 5, 6, and NCR to conduct patrolling, provision of security in evacuation or centers. On search and rescue and retrieval cluster, there are 660 SRR personnel deployed, 58 SRR assets deployed, and 2,076 rescued individuals done by the search and rescue and retrieval cluster. On debris clearing and civil works, there are 1,731 equipment and 7,105 manpower assets prepositioned in CAR, NCR, 2, Regions 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there are 10 cleared roads sections done by this cluster, especially for those on areas which have not yet subsided. Floods have yet to subside. On the priority needs reported by region, for CAR, there are no identified needs as of reporting time. For Region 1, debris clearing needs had been reported. Region 2, no identified needs as of reporting time. Region 3, no identified needs as of reporting time. For NCR, they manifested that they need debris clearing equipment and they have yet to conduct, or they are on the process of conducting rapid damage assessment and needs analysis. Memaropa submitted its need for debris clearing. Region 5, it submitted the following priority needs: family food packs, family kits, hygiene kits, kitchen kits, medicines, debris clearing, and air assets. For Region 6, the priority needs are as indicated. And for Region 7, the debris clearing equipment. Region 8, debris clearing equipment and manpower, and also medicines. And they are in the process of conducting rapid damage assessment and needs
Quick
analysis.
question lang, Region 5, because all of the other requirements or priorities, standard yan, mga family food pack. Bakit meron silang air asset? Anong ibig sabihin ng air asset?
They have, Mr. President, they have requested air assets because of the 3 boats that were reported that sank in Mercedes Northern Summer, and they are still reported missing, Mr. President. About 50.
I'm sorry, in Samar? This is Region 5.
Northern Camarines Norte, Mr. President.
Oh.
Mercedes Camarines Norte. This is actually air support
For the
for the
rescue
search
ng
rescue
mga-
operations, Mr. President.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So to continue, next slide. So let me skip this. Selected photos in NCR, which have already subsided. Next, let me skip the photos, Mr. President, and go directly to so I think I have completed my presentation, Mr. President.
Very well.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. I think very clear, before we get to your briefing, I think very clear that the progress, it's the same pattern that we have always had to deal with, that pagdaan, magre-rescue muna tayo, the usual procedure that we are always adopting, that we'll first rescue, try to, as much as possible, try to clear the road so that our response can reach the isolated areas, because pagka sa poblasyon madali yan, pero yung nasa malayo, kailangan natin hanapan ng paraan para makalapit. But you can see the progress as usual. Region 5, kung saan Region 5 around then Aurora area, kung saan pumasok yung bagyo, malakas pa yung bagyo, and we are now at the stage where they are in need of relief goods already. Doon pa sa northern part of Luzon, they are still having to deal with rescue. So yun ang phase 2 sa northern Luzon. Ang expected kasi natin, the track was supposed to go only along the Cagayan coast. Pero lumiko, pumasok sa, it went eastwards. Tapos dumaan na nga doon sa Region 1. So that is how our response has to be put together to basically follow the storm kung saan dumaan. I'm also concerned about the following weather conditions that we are seeing. I originally heard about it yesterday, that there is a possibility that this weather structure will become another storm. So we have to be aware of that, because kung talagang may pangalawang papasok pa, ang mangyayari dyan, lahat ng ginawa natin ngayon, uulitin natin. If it goes along approximately the same track. So that's wala tayong magagawa. That's the weather. So we just keep that in mind. That after everything that we do for Enteng continues, this storm is now going to come in. Magwi-withdraw na naman tayo. We will just wait for the storm to pass before we can go in again. So it depends. We will have to look very, very closely at your forecasting. Yung meteorology assessment is the one that will guide our response. All right. So now we move on to the briefing of the DSWD on.
Good morning, Mr. President. Okay. Mr. President, I have 3 slides only. The first slide, next slide. Well, Mr. President, basically just shows the number of affected families, which was reported by OCD already.
Yes, yes.
Our numbers come close to each other at 450,000. Nagkakaiba lang siguro, give or take, because of the cut-offs that we use.
Yeah.
But it's around 450,000 affected families.
Alright.
The next slide. Well, pretty much the same, Mr. President. This is the number of families in evacuation center. Comes close to the OCD number as well. Kami nasa 18,000, sila nasa 22,000. Give or take because of the cut-offs again, Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, this is more interesting for you, the third slide. If we can just zoom a bit doon sa first column, yung family food packs. Mr. President, as reported to you the other night, we have already deployed 133,000 family food packs. And we are currently processing another 100,000, yung mga bago na dumating. But you're right, Mr. President, if you look at the breakdown of where we sent the food packs, it followed the path of the storm.
Of course.
With number 1, of course, NCR, because nandito yung flooded areas all the time. But after NCR, it was Region 5, where the storm came closest at its height. 24,000, and then Region 3, 21,000, Calabarzon, 12,000. But of course, Mr. President, these are just augmentation numbers. Iba pa yung ginawa ng LGU. So what happens is they do theirs first.
Sure.
Pag they need backup, they call us. But right now, we are looking at closing the Enteng response at 250,000 family food packs altogether. Mr. President, moving forward, you also mentioned na we have to keep an eye out on the potential 2 storms.
Yes.
Before Enteng struck, we were able to restore our national stockpile to 1.7 million family food packs spread across the country.
Yeah.
So now we're doing both response and stockpiling kasi we'll be using up our stockpile in those said regions. But we're confident mahahabol naman namin yun. As we speak right now, we're deploying and we're packing and we're stockpiling.
For the information of everyone, the reason that this has become an issue about our stockpiling is after Karina, basically, naubos ang ating stock. Kaya namili ulit ang DSWD ng mga food and non-food items para maging handa para sa susunod. Ito na yun. Ito na yung ating pre-procure dahil nga, like I said, nung pagkatapos ng action natin sa Karina, walang laman yung mga warehouse natin. Naubos talaga. And we had to put up the supplementary budget a little bit because that was our quota for the rest of the year. Pero naubos, wala tayong magagawa, so we will have to respond. And that is what Secretary Rex is now explaining to us now.
Mr. President, you're correct. Karina closed at 1.5 million family food packs in a span of 3 weeks. So as you mentioned, we na-wipe out yung stockpile natin, but we were able to, with your instruction and the supplemental cash that came in from the Ndrrmc, we were able to restore the power back to 1.7 million. And then now we're probably going to go back to 1.5, but we're continuously stockpiling to reach again the 1.7 to 2 million mark.
Yeah. Well, of course, we will have to respond to Enteng and all the damages and the requirements that the areas na dinaanan nga ng Enteng are going to need. But let us not lose awareness of the next. We have to plan that we must assume that whatever we do now in for the immediate needs of the people who are in the areas that have been hit hard. Isipin natin na may susunod pa. So I think the procurement of the food packs, non-food items, etc., yung mga binibigay natin, wag lang natin tignan yan, tuloy-tuloy yan, tuloy-tuloy ito dahil mukhang may parating pa. And with the forecast of Pag-asa, the monthly forecast that you have we have one or two storms more or less on average for the rest of the year. So
Yes, Mr. President. It's become an ongoing activity. It's a daily activity, Mr. President.
It's no longer one response for each. We have to also think of what is coming in the future para naman we are not caught short-handed when the time comes that we have to provide the relief and assistance that will be necessary pagkadating ng mga ibang weather systems. Yes.
Yes,
All
Mr. President, we'll do as instructed.
So
Thank you, sir.
as it stands, I think we're all right. In terms of supply of our relief goods that we can give. All right, but we must continue the procurement because there is a very good chance that this is not going to be the last for this month. So we have to prepare for that. Okay. But so far, we are doing what we are always doing. We attend to those people who have been displaced. Those people, we're still providing food packs for those who have been displaced. Not only the people who have na nasa evacuation center. Di ba, lagi natin yung na-displace lang, walang makain, na napunta sa pamilya, napunta sa ibang lugar, kailangan pa rin tulungan. Yeah. All right. So for Enteng, in terms of the DSWD assistances that are provided, I think we should be all right. But we'll have to look also at the other assistances that we have to give following this. Now, you see, this is what I mean when kung halimbawa in the longer term, sige, nandyan ang Enteng, meron na displace, tutulungan natin with food packs, etc. However, yung infrastructure development halimbawa, yung rebuilding, tignan natin, baka kasi yung pinakamasakit panoorin ay bagong gawa, hindi pa nagamit, eto na yung bagyo, sinira ulit. So we have to think about that very well. And Pag-asa, you're going to have to be the guide kung ano yung talagang mangyayari. I know that it's becoming more and more difficult. Again, I've mentioned this before, but one phenomenon that we've noticed with climate change is how the weather systems develop much more quickly than they used to. Kung maalala ninyo, nung tayo doon, sasabihin, pag yung may bagyo, Typhoon Signal number 1, sabihin, palapit na sa Pilipinas. The next day, sasabihin, ay, lumakas ng konti, Typhoon Signal number 2 na. Okay, so hanggang pumasok ng Pilipinas. Yung first experience, Yolanda was the first example of this. At some point, sinabi Yolanda is only a Category 2. Tapos Category 2 hurricane. Within 24 hours, it was a Category 5 hurricane, which is a new categorization, by the way, for super typhoons. Naging 5. The same thing with Odette. 24 hours before it hit land, it was a typhoon, it was a signal number 1. By the time it reached us, within 24 hours, nag-4 na. Kaya yun na yung Odette. Karina, the same thing. Enteng, the same thing. And that's why we have to stay conscious of the weather systems that are developing, that are now approaching the country. So kailangan natin, we have to have a more dynamic assessment. Hindi ito Hindi na ito yung set piece, kung tawagin natin, set piece na, okay, may bagyo, patadaanin natin, pasok tayo, ganun, Hindi na yung ganun. Tapos, balik na tayo, withdraw na tayo. Hindi na ganun eh. Oh, sige, of course, we will take care of the people who have been victims of the typhoon. But we have to watch what's coming. Kasi kung sisimulaan natin yung rebuilding, tapos masisira lang, napakasayang naman. Hindi naman nagamit, pero gumastos tayo ng malaki kasi emergency. So we have to be a little more yun na nga, dynamic in our analysis for this so that ma-maximize naman natin ang mga resources natin dahil lagi namang kulang yan. So we have to make the best of it. We have to make the most of what we have. All right? Okay. Okay. So that's I think the SOPs that we have put into place, the standard procedures that we have put into place are working well. They are continuing to provide the assistances that the areas that have been hit require. So we can look to that as a continuing process that we always do when a typhoon comes. So we will try to, I have been trying to fly to do an inspection, but dalawang araw na akong gustong magpalipad pero sabi ng mga piloto namin hindi pa flyable ang mga ibang lugar. So we'll try again today. Baka mamayang hapon gumanda yung weather. Although ang forecast hindi yata gaganda yung weather today. Today? Oh, sige. Okay. So, ayun, I will try to make an inspection as soon as I can so that makita natin kung ano ba talaga ang sitwasyon. But nonetheless, we are continuing to monitor all the situations everywhere. And hopefully, pagdaan itong weather system na ito, makapunta tayo at we will provide the assistances that, because the assistance that we are talking about is not only from DSWD, the immediate requirements, but of course, yung mga nasirang tanim, yung mga nasira na mga hanap buhay ng mga tao, kailangan natin tulungan. So that's what I will be attending to now. The DOH now has to, that's not, again, it's really information dissemination when it comes to flooding. Yung leptospirosis, the last briefing that I had from Secretary Ted Herbosa was we just have to teach people. Yung leptospirosis pala, maligo, mag-shower ka lang magsabon ka lang. Matatanggal na pala yung leptospirosis. So kailangan malaman ng tao natin yan. As much as possible, halimbawa may sugat ka, you have an open wound, umiwas kayong pumasok sa tubig na madumi. I know it's not always possible, but this information has to go out, and then nakahanda naman yung ating mga gamot para when the time comes. All right, what else do we have to attend to?
It's just also the pag-asa on the monsoon, because whether
Oo
or
nga.
not there disturbances,
Yeah.
monsoons are
There,
are
nandyan,
there.
umuulan. Oh.
Yeah.
So-
if there's some adjustment that can be made. And Mr. President, we're also trying to work out a model where we can localize, asking pag-asa for factual information like in Metro Manila, what is the percentage chance of moderate rain? And moderate alone, we know, has effects already, and the decision makers can make the decision as to, for example, suspension of work on classes without asking pag-asa to make the call, but just factual predictions as much as possible.
Actually, we are already doing that. We are in constant communication with Pag-asa. so that should the time come that we have to declare no work or no school, maaga hanggat maaga. But like I say, the problem that we are facing is that these weather systems develop very quickly. So, kung sa gabi, alas 7 ng gabi, mukhang okay pa rin. So, di tayo mag-declare ng no work. Tapos tatawag ang Pag-asa alas 3 ng umaga. Sabi, naku, grumabe. That's what happened the last time sa Karina. Kaya na-late tayo makapag-announce. Dahil ang advice that came from OCD came at 4:30 in the morning. So, naghabol kami para makapag-advise. But we'll just do our best. I mean, it's, meteorology is not an exact science. So,
Tama po, mahal na Pangulo. And rest assured po that we will do our best in order for us to give more accurate information po. And quickly
well,
po.
we'll just have to do our best. We just have to do our best. The weather is precisely so changeable, and more so now than it ever was before. So we'll just do our best. But let's employ all the best technologies, all the best information. Let us be in touch with all of the other weather stations, yung mga US Coast Guard, yung Japan, yung lahat naman yan nagbibigay sa atin ng information. Well, you're doing it already. I know that you're doing it already. So let's just keep that going, so that we can do our best. All right, so let's carry on. We'll carry on the DSWD side. We'll carry on bringing the relief goods where we can go in. Sa public works, kailangan na rin natin mag-clear, the usual thing, mag-clear ng mga kalsada kung saan gumuho ang lupa para makadaan yung ating mga support, ang ating mga relief goods. And then, bantayan lang talaga natin kung ano pang mangyayari sa weather. All right, in the northern areas, dun sa northern Luzon, umuulan pa rin. Baka there are areas na hindi pa mapasok, but we'll already try to do our best. Yung report ng OCD na wala pang requirement, ngayon pa lang yan. Magkakaroon ng requirement yan. Magtatawag na ako ng mga governor and see what they need. What the real situation is on the ground. Kasi hindi pa humihingi ng tulong yan, siguro because they're just having to deal with the storm or the rain. Wala na yung storm, on the rain right now. All right, so thank you for the briefings, and let's keep an eye out on ito yung car. No identified needs as of reported time. Yan, Region 1 debris clearing pa lang yan. But dadami yan. So we'll just be prepared. All right, thank you for all your reports. I think we are moving correctly. Carry on. Thank you.
Sir, yung sa Terra Nova pala, there's just 150,000 liters of oily water remaining. So we're about to wrap up already. In the ship. So it will be refloated na lang. And